Pastor Kayode Pitan is the Assistant Pastor in charge of RCCG Region 20 and the Provincial Pastor in charge of Lagos Province 46, where he oversees over 80 parishes. Kayode Pitan is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bank of Industry Limited, Nigeria's oldest and largest development finance institution. He draws from significant experience gained across various financial sectors, including banking and capital markets, during his over 30-year career. Prior to his current role, he served as MD CEO of First Interstate Bank PLC, Executive Director at Unity Bank PLC, Executive Director at FSB International Bank PLC, and the pioneer MD CEO of NSEC, a specialized banking unit of FSB International Bank PLC that focused on the energy sector in Nigeria. We are glad to welcome Pastor Kayode Pitan to the Kingdom Summit 2022.
Please, let's keep clapping as we receive Pastor Kayode Pitan to the stage. Please keep clapping as he comes. Thank you very much, sir. We're glad to have you. Yeah, you can sit. Next is Jumoke Oduwole.
Dr. Jumoke Oduwole is a special advisor to the President on ease of doing business in the Office of the Vice President. She's also the Executive Secretary of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, chaired by His Excellency, Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger. Dr. Jumoke Oduwole coordinates the activities of its secretariat, where policies aimed at supporting small and medium-sized enterprises across various sectors of the economy are facilitated to make Nigeria a progressively easier place to do business. Prior to her career in public service, Dr. Oduwole was a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos, with expertise in the area of international economic law. She joined academia after a career in investment in corporate banking at FCMB Capital Markets, a division of First City Monument Bank PLC and Guarantee Trust Bank PLC. Jumoke Oduwole is happily married and is a mother of 2 beautiful children. We are glad to welcome Jumoke Oduwole to the Kingdom Summit 2022.
A round of applause. Thank you. I understand that Dr. Jumoke Oduwole will be represented by our brother Ayo Ojeniyi. Let's receive Ayo Ojeniyi, please. You're welcome. This way, please. Next on the list is our own brother. I call him Father Abraham, Pastor Peter Abraham.
Mr. Peter Abraham is the managing partner of Fortress Link Law Partners, one of the emerging law firms in Lagos, Nigeria. He graduated from the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, ABU Zaria, in Nigeria, where he obtained his LLB in 2012. He then obtained his LLM from the University of Ibadan. Mr. Peter Abraham also sits on the board of different companies and has gained quite some experience with SMEs. He is an associate pastor at RCCG The Oasis. He is also the parish pastor of Zangon Alheri, a Hausa-speaking parish of the RCCG in Lagos. He is married to Busola Abraham, and they are blessed with 2 wonderful daughters. We are glad to welcome Peter Abraham to the Kingdom Summit 2022.
Yes, let's receive our very own Pastor Peter Abraham, Father Abraham, like I like to call him. You're welcome, sir. And now to the moderator of this session, our brother Kayode Akintemi.
Kayode Akintemi is an award-winning broadcast journalist. He started his career in the mid-1980s as reporter, news anchor on radio and television stations in the southwest of Nigeria. Kayode worked in the United Kingdom for over 15 years as an IT systems analyst, management information systems analyst, developer, ICT technical project manager, and radio TV content developer. He returned to Nigeria in 2011 from the United Kingdom to head the operations of Channels Television as the general manager, driving the team to achieve multiple awards during his 5-year contract. Kayode was the founding managing director that led the creation of Plus TV Africa in June 2016. We are glad to welcome Kayode Akintemi to the Kingdom Summit 2020.
Please let's appreciate God in the life of this man. He will be the moderator for this session. Keep clapping, please, as he comes. So don't forget, for questions, as the sessions are going on, for questions, you get on your browser, sli.do, and then hashtag TKS2022.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, well, we're in a church environment, so hallelujah is not out of place here. Somebody shout hallelujah. That is more like it. Now we're awake. Well, it's going to be a very interesting time we're going to have here. I've had very engaging conversation with the panelists, and even I, an experienced entrepreneur, leader in the media world, the things I've heard from them, those of you who are here, your mind will be blown away, because the kind of information that they're willing and happy to share with you, you better just be prepared, because you're going to leave here being able to say you've written out stuff and you're going to go out and you start your own business. It's all about SMEs, how to start your business, how to push it on, how to get the things that you need to get so that you can move it to the level that you desire. But as a starting point, we have a set of slides that Pastor Kayode Pitan will go through, and that will form the basis of our conversation. That will be what we will pivot around for us to be able to unbundle what he will present. That will take about 15 to 20 minutes. So please help me encourage Pastor Kayode Pitan to please share some real deep words with us. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I want to thank Pastor Ben and his team for inviting me. My prayer is that the little time we're going to spend together, I'll be able to pass one or two things across to you here. You said it's a church environment, so usually we pray. Father, I pray that the words that we are going to speak, what we're going to share with your people, will be a blessing to them. And the rhema that pertains to anyone here and those who are with us online, let them receive it in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'll be talking on SMEs at the heart of the economy. Do we have the slides, please? Okay. So let's go to slide 1. There are many slides, so I'm going to skip some, but I've told the organizers that they can share the slides with you so you can have them, and you can probably, if you have questions, you can always even get in touch with us at BOI on our website. So we're talking about SMEs this morning. And we say SMEs are often regarded as the backbone of global social economic development. And there are some interesting statistics that you have there. Generally, they contribute between 40 to 55% of GDP and between 50 to 80% of employment in most economies, not only in Nigeria. That's the average statistics of SMEs. They possess great potential for employment, generation, improvement in local technology, economic diversification, development of individual entrepreneurship and wealth. And from the figures from AFDB, say 22% of Africa's working age population are starting businesses. But that's for Africa. We Nigerians are even much higher. And I'm sure some of you who have traveled around Africa, you will notice that when they see Nigerians, they recognize Nigerians by the way you stand, because we are everywhere and we are doing business in every part of Africa. But in Algeria, 9%. In Nigeria, around 40%. Next slide, please. But if you are looking at Nigerian statistics, there are about 39.7 million MSMEs in Nigeria. They contribute about 46.3% to national GDP. About 97% of our businesses in Nigeria are in that MSMEs category. They generate about 88% of employment and about 6.2% to exports. So you can see that, they are really, really very important. We talk of the stock exchange, but most of the drivers of Nigeria's economy are small businesses. They are not even listed on stock exchange. And some of them are here in this room. Next slide. But they have challenges. Many of them will complain that they don't have access to finance. This one, question mark. And because they are so desperate to get money, they get money from money lenders. And money lenders, as I was coming in, I think the last session was just finishing, and the person was advising you that you be very careful about people that promise you that they can give you 30% in a month. You need to ask yourself, what kind of business can you do that can give you that kind of return? So if you don't have that kind of return, why are you borrowing money from people who are giving you money at between 5, 7, or 8% flat per month? Some people are in bondage, Christians, because they are taking those monies because they are desperate to have money. Burdensome admin and regulatory framework. Many of them don't even know how to deal with this. The tax people are after you, local government is after you, so many different kinds of things. They get confused. Multiple taxation, lack of medium to long-term planning. They don't even plan. It's day to day. What they do today is different from what they're going to do tomorrow. No planning. Inadequate infrastructure, and each small business becomes a local government by itself. You have to provide water, because you need water. You need to have your generator. You have to provide power for yourself. So many things. And so all of this weigh them down, and the returns are very low for many of them. Next one. So when you say finance is a major challenge to these MSMEs, but what are the problems that makes it difficult for them to get money? You'll be surprised, we used to have a program with many states in Nigeria. We call it matching fund. You go to a state, it can be Ogun State, Anambra, and we tell the governor, any amount of money you give us, or you bring, BOI, we match it. And we will lend that money in your state. So we call it matching fund. And we've done that in over 20 states in Nigeria. The question is, what is the rate of repayment of these matching funds? Many of the states where we have done this, it's a total write-off. The bad debt is between 80 and 97%. Why? The average Nigerian feels that if there's a government institution that gives you money, as a loan, it's not a loan. It's their own share of national cake. So, of course, it's now difficult to get matching funds from Bank of Industry. We have now changed it, to what we call managed funds. If you bring your money, we'll help you manage it. If you want us to lend to anybody in your state, if they don't pay back, you carry the risk. And you'll be surprised. But in some other states, Kaduna, for instance, the governor found out that some of the people that actually lost the money, it wasn't because they didn't want to pay back. They didn't have financial education. So we have what you call cash step between Kaduna State, BOI, that before you actually have access to those funds, you must go through like a 1 month or 2 months schooling on bookkeeping, different kinds of things. And then the rate of repayment went up because some didn't just have the financial literacy to manage money. Some people are in business today, they need to learn more to manage money because sometimes they've lost the money because of ignorance. I was talking to Mr. Kayode during the short break we had before I came in. That people don't know that in BOI, you can borrow money. People tell us, no, your terms are too stringent. Said, do you know that in BOI, we can give loans up to 10 million naira, that the only security that you need to have are 2 guarantors. Just 2 guarantors. And I told him that most Nigerians struggle to get 2 guarantors. You know why? The guarantors know you. They don't trust you. So many of them, even though you are in the same church, or they are your uncle or your aunties, they will not sign guarantor form on your behalf. Because when they sign it, we take their BVN. So if you don't pay back, they are the ones who are not going to pay. And if the people that know you refuse to guarantee you see people coming to BOI to come and beg us, please, I've gotten 1 guarantor, can you waive the other one? We say, look, in this whole Nigeria, you can't get 2 people to say that they know you so well that if you don't pay, they will pay. One bishop, he's been trying to get me, of a popular bishop. So eventually he got in touch with me. I said, sir, why are you looking for me? He said, it's one small guy in my church. He wants to do this barbing salon. He has these ideas of different things he wanted to do. So I asked him how much would the whole thing cost. About 5 to 6 million. I said, go to BOI. I've been watching their program. So the guy came. He couldn't get 2 guarantors. So Bishop said, I will stand for him as guarantor. I said, no problem, sir. So the boy got Bishop to sign. He couldn't get another person in the whole cathedral to join Bishop. After Bishop himself got tired, he now called me. Can you, Mr. MD, please waive the second condition? I said, no, sir. I said, sir, if the people in your whole church cannot join you to sign for this boy, something is wrong, sir. So sometimes money is not the problem. And if you are starting small business, don't be thinking of bank loan as the first place to start. You should look for loans that will not cost you much. Loan from daddy, loan from mommy, loan from uncle, loan from friends. If those ones are getting difficult, then you have a problem. That is where to start. And sometimes your daddy will not give you money, and he has the money, and he will tell you why. Say, look, I don't think that you can pay this money back. I don't believe in what we are doing. Sometimes, your daddy might not even know what you want to do. But if you cannot convince people who are close to you, go and review your business plan. Yeah. Next one. How can SMEs improve their ability to access finance? Keep your personal finances in order. For many of you who are doing small businesses, there's no difference between you and your business. So when they say bring your bank accounts, we want to see what you have done in the last 6 months. They will be seeing that the things that you are using the money to buy, the bank is not comfortable to give you loan. Separate your own personal account, from the one that you use for your business. Improve yourself. Come for sessions like this. Learn from those who have done it. It will make, the best way you can learn is from other people's experiences. If you want to go through it yourself, you might not survive it. So hear from people. They are giving you, sometimes people come and talk. People like us, we have been there for about 30 years. So what we are giving you in 10 minutes is what has caused some of us a lot of anguish and pain in the past. Do you want to go through that? So look for mentors, people who are in the same kind of business, who can pull you up so you don't make the same mistakes that they have made. Adopt digital solution. Like I said, we need to run very quickly because I have a lot of slides so we can save time. Next slide. what you can do to survive and thrive, identify and retain key customer segments as SME, amend your value proposition to align with changing demands. Things have changed in Nigeria, all over the world. Coronavirus has turned the world around. During coronavirus, some people made money, and they are still making money. People who are in data business, people like MTN, all of these guys, they will smile all the way to the bank because people were at home, and you have to use their data. But people that were in hospitality, maybe you were a travel agent before. Now, with what is going on, at some time people were not traveling, they had problem. People that were doing restaurant business, they had problem. People were not going out to go and eat. People were doing event center business. An event center business, you'll be surprised how many people are employed in that business. If you have an event center and there's an event, maybe somebody is getting married, somebody is going to buy wedding dress, the groomsmen, the bridal train, people are going to make money. Even people are going to make money making gele for the women. Some women don't know how to tie gele. They pay special money for people to tie gele for them. They're going to pay people to do their cosmetics. When they come for the event, people pay money to buy new currency. Some people went to the bank to go and get fresh note. When they come to that event center, people are going to pay for it. There are bouncers you're going to pay money to. There are musicians who are going to make money singing. There are hostesses. There are people who are renting chairs just for that event. There are people who are going to cook for those who are going to come. You'll be surprised how many people lost their businesses when coronavirus shut down these event centers. A lot of people lost their businesses. Somebody converted the event center to, when he saw that people were not coming, for things, okay, what are they doing now? Maybe we can have mini markets. So able to organize people to come and take small space and sell things maybe once a month or twice a week and things. So you have to be thinking. Because the world is changing. Nothing is, it's not static. Otherwise, your business is not going to thrive, especially small businesses that don't really have strong taproot until they are grounded. So the other things there, and then you need to go digital. You can advertise what you are selling now on the internet. So you need to go on the internet. If you don't know how to do it, you pay for it. Have a website. People can order. Some people, even though their restaurants were closed during coronavirus, but they were able to get people to order, So they made special orders. Some of the men, before some of us got married, we were looking for people that will cook for us, that you can put in the freezer. And people were still going to eat anyway, and they ate during coronavirus. So if you find a way to still be able to keep some of those customers alive, you will have done fairly better than others who didn't do anything at all during coronavirus. So all of these things are new things that you have to do. Next slide, I will skip it. Like I said, you're going to have the document. I will skip the next slide also. I will talk briefly about Bank of Industry, so that when it comes to Q&A, you have things you can ask. Our vision is there. Our mission is there. Next page on Bank of Industry. And our mandate. I won't bore you with that. The next one is very important. The next slide. What are the things we try to do at BOI? One, we want to be able to give you money at good interest rate. The question today is, what is good interest rate in Nigeria? For those who are economics people here, you know that Nigeria's inflation now is over 20%. So really, you should not be getting money at less than 20%. That is what it means. For those people who are giving the money to make money, to have real return, they should charge more than 20%. But Bank of Industry, our focus is to ensure that we don't give money more than single digit, which means most of the loans of Bank of Industry are between 8 and 10% per annum, not per month. Some of you are borrowing money at 10% per month. We are giving money out between 8 and 10% per annum, which means the money we are giving out is subsidized, which means we don't have enough money for everybody. So if you are a smart business person and you can get money from us, you will save a lot of money. So our interest rates are low. We do innovative financing. When I say innovative, for instance, creative industry. Many of you watch the local movies. African Magic, all of those ones. Are you aware that some of those films were financed by Bank of Industry? And most of those films that you watch, some of those people didn't have anything apart from the script that they wrote. The script, was their intellectual property. How do you convert intellectual property into financing? We came into it to say, okay, what can we do? Say, well, this is what I have, bank, and I want you to give me money to make a film. So what do? We get people like Jumoke Oduwole and the others who are experts in that field and constitute a committee. So we will bring scripts. They will look at it and say, out of these 25 scripts, we think these 10 could be winners. So we pick those 10. Then there are people who who will do the costume. Different people, we pay those people directly to get those films for you. But then there are also challenges. Because usually these films, as soon as they are released, the same day they are released, there are people who are selling the same film on the bridge. Denying people who have spent months, putting those things together. So we went beyond that. So if all these films that we are financing became bad debt, because there are people who have duplicated these things and selling them for 200 naira on the bridge, what can we do? We have to add more money and begin to finance film houses. So you can go and sit down and watch these films and pay something higher. And then coronavirus came. And you stop going to the film houses to go and watch them. So every business has challenges. So even banks themselves, we have to keep on thinking. So if now you're not watching the films because there's coronavirus, how can we sell these films? Then Netflix. You now say, okay, fine. People now are in their homes. They are watching these films in the comfort of their homes. But there must be a place, a platform. So now we have to, because it's not every film that Netflix will allow to be on their platform. The quality must be there. So you have to spend more money, produce better quality films, and then be able to sell it beyond the confines of Nigeria. That's part of the business. It's evolving. So we are part of that. We like businesses that your raw materials are drawn from Nigeria or available in Nigeria. Why? If you have to bring imported raw materials, now when there are challenges with foreign exchange, how do you get raw materials to continue? We like businesses that you have the quality that you can export. Why? Because if you have good quality export, then you can bring money into Nigeria and you help us ease our foreign exchange. We like businesses that are gender, women businesses, because the women, actually, banking women is good business. I'm serious. The women pay back, they are better borrowers than the men. No, I'm not trying to flatter the women. All over the world. So if you have, in BOI, we have a gender desk that caters to businesses owned by women or managed by women. And we've had it for at least 11 years. So we have a gender desk in BOI to encourage women-owned and women-led businesses. We like environmentally friendly projects, And like I said, these documents will be given to you. Let me run very quickly. Next slide, please. And next slide. Okay, some of the areas that we are present, and we, apart from these areas, we cover other areas. Agro and food processing, oil and gas, solid minerals, healthcare and petrochemicals, creative industry, renewable, gender. We are focused on women. Engineering and technology, we cover all of those areas. Now, the next slide can be of interest to many of us, what we call BDSPs. What are BDSPs? These are business development service providers. Some of you want to come to Bank of Industry and you want to take the loan. You don't know how to put your package together. So these people can help you put your package together. We have, looked at these companies, they have passed our test, and we now put them on our website. Some of them are national, which means they have offices all over Nigeria. Some of them are only present in some few states, but they are listed on our website, and you are the one to pick the one that you want to work with. Now, they will help you put together a package that you can bring to Bank of Industry to borrow money. Now, how they get their own money, because many of you will also complain we don't have money for consultant. It's part of the services we render to our customers. We are the ones who will pay them. And we don't pay them, they don't succeed. So they have a motivation to work together with you, because they only get paid their fees if they're able to help you put together your package such that you're able to finance it. Then we'll pay them the fees that is due to them. Like I said, they will give you the materials for presentation because the time is up, and then during the Q&A you can ask any questions that you might have.
A big round of applause. Thank you very much, sir. That was excellent presentation. And that is despite the fact that Pastor Pitan did not get to finish all the slides. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the plan is to make this as engaging as possible. We have people online who have joined, who are sending questions. I hear it's on Slido. And those who are here at some point, I might have to ask somebody to move microphones around. If we have enough time, we might do that. But let me go to the very basic. How many of you here have small to medium size business? Can I see a show of hand? Okay. And if you put your hand down, how many people here are aspiring to start something, no matter how small? You've not started, but you're thinking, you're working on it and all that. Okay, so let me start with the lawyer then, Pastor Peter Abraham, and I'll ask him. Now, if I have an idea, like some of the people here, and this idea, I want to grow it, what do I need to do? Should I just go ahead, go register and open a bank account or whatever? What do I need to do as a way of making sure that I feel or have a sense that my business is about to start?
Okay, thank you very much, Kayode. The first thing you need to do is seek for information, number one. And in doing that, I would recommend and advise that everyone at least have a lawyer that you know, or know somebody that knows a lawyer who can give you some of the basic advice on the legal framework, at least in Nigeria, for you to start a business. So seek for that information around the idea that you have. I've said it a couple of times that sometimes the idea you have may not really be new. Maybe somebody is doing it in another way, right? So you can seek for that basic information, then know the basic legal framework, for instance, to register that name. Now, this is where a lot of young startups have issues as to what type of registration should I engage in when I want to start up a business. Basically, we have the business name registration, and we also have the limited liability company registration. Now, because of the name limited has made all around, everybody wants to be limited. You know, in those days, I remember watching movies from childhood, and we watch a lot of Igbo movies. They were the ones that dominated in Nollywood. And once one of them makes money, he said, I don't limited. So I don't become limited. So everybody wants to be limited. But if you want to be limited, there are also some legal framework and then obligations that come upon you. Taxes would follow. There are some basic taxes that you have to pay as a limited liability company, and which, if you register as a business name owner, you may be able to, work your way out of it and gain your grounds before you think of that. So a lot of businesses, you can start as business name registration first. When you gain, like a business name registration, maybe you just have to pay payee and then VAT on services, those are the basic ones that you have to pay. But I mean, every other tax is like company income tax. You avoid it, you know. At that time, you may not have to sell assets to attract stamp duties and etc. But I mean, that's the first thing you should think about.
So the key thing there is you don't have to go and register a limited liability company. You can just register the name Shola Oluyemi or Binkwe Adewale Ventures or Enterprise. That could be your first step that ensures that you're not going to have to pay out a lot of money to government in so many taxes that comes with it. So let me bring on Ayokunu Ojeniyi. He's a project manager with the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. Help us understand. A lot of people think government does not do anything whatsoever to create an enabling environment for young people, especially people in their 20s and 30s, to be able to start a business. What is it that your department, as part of the parastatal within the Office of the President, doing that could become useful information here?
Thank you very much. Indeed, because of the trust deficit between the governed and those in government, it becomes very difficult for citizens to appreciate that government does anything, if at all. I think a good place to start would be to just speak about the regulatory reforms, starting with what the Company and Allied Matters Act of 2020 has made possible. One of the things that that act now makes possible is that businesses, first of all, you can be a sole owner of a business. Prior to the passage of the law, you couldn't have an idea in the middle of the night and decide to register a business without having a partner. So now you can do that. Some of the strictures, such as making the insistence that you've got to have an auditor, you've got to have a company secretary, which adds to the cost of running a business, is out. Finance Act, I think 2 years ago also introduced some waivers for businesses that have turnover of less than 20 million. They're exempted from corporate income taxes. So even if you're a limited liability company, just like Father Abraham has said, you can enjoy some tax waiver as far as corporate income taxes, because as long as your turnover is not more than 20 million naira. So, but that's not to say that there are not challenges in the business environment. Again, because citizens also demand services, they demand improved public service delivery. It also means that for every waiver that you give in the form of taxes, fees, it means that the money coming to government would also reduce. All right. Case in point is what has just happened in the UK, where government announced a lot of tax reduction without looking at how do you plug the gap. So it's good that, at least for the corporate income taxes, and it's important that people familiarize themselves with that to understand that if you run a business and your turnover, and most people within that SME space have turnover less than 20 million, you can actually have a tax credit.
All right, but for the people who are sitting here and those who are watching us online, because people are watching on YouTube as well, for them, is there one or two key things that you can point to and say, this government today is doing with a view to make sure that if you're 27 years old, you're out of university, you're currently jobless, but you're not a lazy Nigerian youth, you aspire to do something with your life. Is there something that they can key into that will enable them to start a business?
Good question. My office, we don't directly do that, but we work with agents. And I'll just start from where Pastor Pitan just stopped. I mean, while we're having a discussion before we came up here, he had said even for youth corpers, you can get as much as 2 to 3 million naira loan facility just by presenting your certificate. But he also said that young people at that stage, would not want to present their certificate, but rather want to go to the court and say that the certificate is missing. Because your collateral at that point becomes your certificate. So as early as you've been undergraduate, 23, 24, you've got a business, you can approach the Bank of Industry and you can get some facility.
Okay, so let me come to you, sir, Pastor Pitan. Now, one of the things that I was looking at to build up the conversation is this issue of when you want to start your business and you're looking for funds, you cannot look for funds without creating something as document that enables you to access it, and that's when you mentioned the BDPS or BDESP, Service Provider for Business Development. Help us understand, what are the things that the business development service provider will help the individual here to do that would enable them to be able to access the fund?
You can't start a business. Thank you. Like you said, you can't start a business without having an idea what you want to do. So the first thing is that you have your business plan. But that business plan might not be in a format that is really bankable, because maybe you are fresh. Some people are not fresh, but they are not accountants. So when they are asking you for cash flow, you want to borrow money for 5 years, and we have your cash flow. Some people don't know how to put it together, because you have to go on the internet, you have to use a computer, they have to do your balance sheet and all of those things for you, So most of the BDSPs have accounting background. It will help you put all of those things together, let you know. They will ask you questions, the same type of questions the bankers are going to ask. You want to borrow 2 million naira, for instance. This thing that you want to produce, what is your cost? Some people have not done proper costing. Some people, by the time they finish with the BDSPs, they will know that there is no point doing that business, because they have not taken into account so many things that are part of the cost. So those people are going to ask questions. They're going to have scenario planning. What if the price were to drop? For instance, an hotel is like an hotel business. They had projected, because if you have an hotel, it's like an hospital to some extent. Even if you have 3 patients, your generators are going to work 24 hours. So if you are in the hotel also, if you have 100-room hotel and only 20 rooms are occupied, your big generators that have been designed will have to work. And then the price of diesel went up from 300 naira to 700 naira.
Over 800 now.
It's 800 now. So those are the kind of things that they're going to do for you, and put it together, ask the right question to you, and let you think deeper. The equipment that you want to use, where are they coming from? Sometimes all you have to do is to change the source of the equipment. Rather than buy from the UK, you buy from China, and then the whole thing changes. So that is their job.
Okay. Now, let me drill down to personal experience, because I relate a lot with a lot of young people, because I work in the media space. And quite a lot of them in the creative sector, they want to do skits. They want to do TikTok, and they just need small amount of money to be able to get weave hair, small equipment that they need. And others are young girls who want to be able to weave hair and do wigs and things like that. Those kind of people, what will Bank of Industry tell them to do? Because to sit for 2-3 days going through the rigors of 5-year projection plan, it's like a bit too much in terms of their thinking. But how can we help them to make sure they get on the straight and narrow to start this business?
Okay, thank you for that question. Because it's a rider to the first one you asked. What is Nigeria doing for the young graduates, the 25-year-olds, the 27-year-olds? How can you do business? And that ties to what we have just asked. And there's in the last 3 to 4 weeks, for those who have been watching BOI, program on channels and on NTA, there's a program now that we have working with Central Bank of Nigeria called TIES. It's for actually recent graduates. These guys can borrow up to 3 million or more. Some of them are doing poultry business. Some are doing the things we're talking about, And all they have to do is to apply online. That process is much faster. They don't need BDSPs, and they can get those monies. And we have been showcasing in the last 3 weeks, people who have gotten money from different parts of Nigeria. These are funds from government for young graduates that CBN is funding, and BOI is the implementer of that program. So that exists for young graduates. And we also have another program in BOI too for young graduates. So yes, there are facilities available for them.
Okay, before I come back to Pastor Abraham, just one last question before I move on. Some of the things that you're saying, I've had conversation again with young people because that's my territory, that's where I operate the most. They form the 60 to 70% of Nigerians, and quite a few of them are here. Now, when you talk about watching it on Arise and all that, they don't watch television. Most of them, if you ask around here, how many people, let me see a show of hand, when was the last time anybody here watched TV within the last 24 hours? How many people here watched television in the last 24 hours? Of course, Pastor Will. So you see, the number. Most of them don't watch television. They have no business watching television. Everything they want to see is on their mobile phone. What is being done to reach them? It is designed for them that don't watch television. Pastor Ben Akaboeze probably does not need a loan from you. He is okay. He's okay. But those who need it, unfortunately, they don't watch television.
Okay. Thank you very much. The good news is that we're also on YouTube, and Facebook, Maybe now listening to you, we should consider TikTok,
Yes. Yes.
But yes, if you Google now, BOI, on Facebook or YouTube, there are so many of our programs. Because as soon as it's shown on the TV, it goes on our website.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to legal matters, what are the top 3 pitfalls that people who are looking to set up small to medium size enterprise, what are the 3 key things that they should look for to make sure avoid this? Don't the moment you hear this, run.
Okay, first, if you permit me, I'll just give a little story here. I started business at 9, and just recently, one of my friend who was under my employment, I think around 10, 11 years, had sent me a picture of us, and when we were working, I think I sent it to the media. I don't know if they can put it up on the screen for you to see. And at that age, I was able to employ, I think, about 4 or 5 persons. I'm paying them 5 naira, 10 naira to weave baskets for me. So that's me on green at the first, and then you see some of my friends that work with me at that time, at that age. Now, what made me stop doing this? We had a problem with the local government. Some of those rates and taxes that they come up with, and they go out to sell those baskets, and they got arrested by the local government, and I now started hiding, so my dad came in to try to intervene on that, before they were released, and he expressly said, don't do this again, blah, 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 blah. Now, so what are the 3 things that you should avoid? You should avoid falling into, like I think the one that mentioned, or from the last session, quick offers for loans, right? In fact, if you've not handled any small business before, I would advise you, don't even go for loan. Don't go for it. The little you have, and like you mentioned, or was it Pastor Pitan that mentioned, your family members, source for that resources around that area. Else, as a pastor also, I would say that we get requests almost on every Sunday from people who are running their small businesses who borrowed from these quick monies, and and the interest rate had grown, they cannot pay the initial monies borrowed, not to even talk about the interest. So run away from that. Sincerely, I would say, if you have not started anything small and begin to earn from that, run away from borrowing. It is like a grave sight for a lot of businesses. You end up servicing debts instead of that. And then try and pay your taxes on time. Because when these government agencies come on you, there will be penalties. So you will end up dipping your hands into your interests or your profits, rather, to pay up those taxes. Run away. Try your on time, and then file in your returns on time, pay your taxes on time, and then ensure that your documentations are okay. For those in advertising, for instance, Lagos State has an agency that handles that. A lot of people just go into it, buy bikes in recent times, brand the bikes, send the bikes on errands as dispatch riders without doing the basic documentations. And then these guys come on you, arrest your bike. The monies you pay to bail your bike is almost equal to the money that you have to, that you buy new bikes. So avoid those things. So those companies that we advise, a lot of them fall into this kind of traps. Ensure your documents are intact. Avoid initial loans like this. If you've not handled a little business and you've made a little profit from it, avoid those loans. Borrow from people that you can say, I beg, and they will be begged. So that's what I would say.
Okay, let me come to you, Ayakano. When it comes to enabling environments for businesses, there are people who go beyond I'm looking for 2 million, I'm looking for 10 million. They're setting up a farm or a business, and their number one concern is the issue of insecurity in the neighborhood where they have to contend, which they have to contend with. They have issues of area boys or people who are like touts who will harass them to say you have to pay money for whatever. These are issues that means that you can't say there's an enabling environment for business to thrive. What is it that you will say the government is doing? You work with the Office of the President. What is government doing in terms of enabling environments that you can point to say, these are the things we're doing. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not, but what is it exactly? Because it will help when people know our government is doing something. There's a spirit that we're all abandoned at the moment.
Thank you very much. I think the first place to start would be that the fact that there's a team working on making Nigeria a progressively easier place to do business. It's one way that government has admits that the business environment could be a lot better. So that's the starting point, that we understand that there's a gap between the potentials of the businesses and the current realities in the country.
I'm sorry to interject.
So that's one.
Let me mention this. I moderated the first media chat with President Jonathan, and I asked him quite a few questions. And one of the things I kept insisting on, can you possibly be specific? Just go straight to the point. Name 1, 2, 3, and say yes. So there is not a case of talking around. It will help the people here.
Oh yes, I completely agree with it. I was just trying to give a background to the fact that there's a context to this question. So that's one. That's the background. It's a tough one to really articulate, particularly because. So let me start from the most recent. 2 days ago, the president passed the startup bill. A few things are still in that bill. One is to make the regulatory environment friendlier, particularly for young businesses. Those are the tech bros and tech Cs, making it easy for them to operate from that area. I'm sure the jury is still out to really articulate the impact that bill would be. The second thing is that I would say that the CAMA, the Company Analysis Matters Act, it's one regulatory reform, because that's the law that regulates business. practices in Nigeria. So there were things like bankruptcy that our laws did not recognize. Our laws did not allow for virtual meetings of parties in business. So that's one. 3 is also the bunch of loan facility, as Pastor Kayode had said. During COVID, there was some support given to businesses. At least I know a few businesses who nobody had to intervene for them that enjoyed some form of artisan support, 30,000 naira there and there. It may look small, but when you also look at the fact that a large number of Nigerians are living the poverty line, you know that 30,000 naira support, while it may not really be useful to some of us in this room, but there are many more Nigerians that those kind of supports would be for. So I'll stop at the point.
Okay, thank you. Pastor Pitan, I'll come back to you now. Most young people, even any businessman today, things are moving so quickly, it's unbelievable. The kind of speed that will make your head turn. You wake up one day, you hear that diesel is 720, and then the next day is 740, and then it's 780, and then you go to the petrol station, you hear it's 800, and I went there the other day and they say it's 822. And I haven't seen anything anywhere that informs me that the government has changed the policy, and even an NPC is selling at that rate as well. So you wonder. Now, my point is this. For the average person who says, I never ever want to do anything with a bank, I don't want to take a loan, but yet they're in that situation where they do need extra lump sum to help them push their business forward. If they run into any kind of problem, paying back that loan as a result of the changes to policies and changes to prices and inflation, what do you advise them to do, and how do they go about it so that they don't get high blood pressure and die?
Thank you very much. What I would say, for instance, let's be practical. COVID came. Some of the customers had been given loans to import machinery. You know, when they came asking for the loan, they had 9 months moratorium, to allow you enough time for the equipment that you've ordered to come to the country, for you to set it up, and then you have cash flow to pay back. Now, COVID came. When COVID came, the responses were different all over the world. Some of those countries actually shut down their borders. So if they shut down borders and there was no production in those areas, the equipment that was supposed to come in 9 months didn't come in 9 months. And if it didn't come in 9 months, of course, it means that you will not have money to pay back. So what happened? Part of the palliatives of government and central bank and BOI was to increase the period for moratorium. So what I would say, first of all, when you have problems, don't keep quiet. Go and talk to your bankers. If the problems are genuine, you ask, that you want to reschedule. This facility that was initially meant to be repaid in 1 year, it's impossible. It's like a force majeure. It's totally out of your hands. So let your bankers know. You go to the bank, and then they will reschedule it.
Okay, will it help to let people understand that rescheduling does not then mean that you're going to end up paying like 10 times more?
No. We just, it means you are extending a 5-year facility can now become a 7-year facility. You still pay the money, but the period for repayment had been extended. The other thing that happened, we actually, in the case of Nigerian government and central bank and BOI, we actually reduced the interest rate. Our loans, normally in BOI, are normally about 10%. We knocked off 2% to help businesses that were struggling. Central bank reduced the interest rate from 9% for most of their interventions to 5% for about 2 years, just to help people. So yes, you can go back to the banks and you can reschedule these things. And people have to begin to plan more. Like you said, we are in a period now that they call VUCA. Things are volatile, unpredictable. So many things are happening. So you have to begin to look at your business model. Do you need so much office space? Do you need to keep some of the staff 100%? What can you do? Even this COVID is affecting, you are talking of people that are having problems. There are other problems that have come around because of COVID. If you talk to anybody now that runs a big business, they will tell you they're having, people are looking for jobs in Nigeria. But I can tell you, even the banks are bleeding. Some of our best people are going out. In IT, in law, I know of a law firm that has about 20 people. I know of a bank that virtually all their IT staff were taken away overnight. So there are problems that because some people died overseas, they are trying to replace them. Nigerians are, oh yes, it's part of the problem. They want people. Canada, UK, they have visas now, in different categories just to attract our best and brightest.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We have quite a few questions. We'll run through them, and then I will run around the platform here to get responses to them. I've got one here. Government agencies are responsible for the death of many SMEs, someone here said. As soon as you open an office for business, many government agencies from the 3 tiers of government become regular guests, each insisting that there are mandatory registrations you must meet. Each requires financial commitment. They don't care if you're making money or not. Therefore, government agencies act as undertakings and very SMEs. That's both comments, and I guess I would come to you, Ayokano, in a minute to respond to that, since you're dealing with ease of doing business. And then another one here says, why do BOI ask for 200% network commensurate to the request of loan from guarantors? What is the reason for that? There's a second one here. Good day, what are the closest and most effective digital tool to accessing and exploiting existing and potential markets for SME? Maybe a lawyer can help us look at that. Another one here says, is it possible that people don't want to guarantee because they are afraid things may not go well? Not necessarily because the person has character issues. So maybe I should start with you, Pastor Pitan. Is it because they're afraid that things might become difficult?
Yes, I agree. But that's the purpose of the guarantor, because you are asking the bank to give you money without security. We used to have a bank called People's Bank. People have come and they've told me, so BOI, if people are too strict, you should reduce all these things. At least we are owned by government. If you are not doing this for us, who will do it for us? And I told them that in BOI, some banks have been buried inside BOI. There's a bank that some people that are a bit older here will understand, NIDB. When we were growing up, we used to know of NIDB. Then you have Nigerian Bank for Credit and Commerce. Then you have People's Bank. Then you have NEFON. All these banks are dead. They are dead because they were doing the things Nigerians are asking us to do now in BOI. Now, if you don't learn from the past mistakes, you keep on repeating them, then you're not going to move forward. The truth is that if you're a government-owned bank, if you don't put things in place to secure what you have, the bank will be dead in no time. So the issue of guarantors is the same thing. When you go to a bank, you want the bank to take a risk. But then you don't have a house, you don't have anything. So we are saying, is there somebody that knows you that can say, I can take a risk on this person? So if you have a problem convincing people that know you to take a risk on you, why should people don't know you take a risk on you? More so if you don't have a track record. And you see, you can start small and become big. Now, today we are buying cars from Innocent in Inewi. Innocent has been our customer in BOI for over 15 years. The first loan that the man took from us is less than 100 million. Doing smaller things, and then it grew, and he can take a lot of money from us now. And it's not only in Inewi. In Kano, we have a company called Rumbu Sachs. In fact, the MD of the company used to be the Speaker of the House of Assembly many years ago. One gentleman called Alhaji Buhari. Some of us will remember him. When he left National Assembly, started to go into business. Rumbu was a small business. Today, Rumbu employs in Kano, I'm sure about close to 1,000 people. You can grow from a small business to a big business. You can start small and then build your way up. Like I said, if you have not learned how to manage 500,000, you are asking of a loan of 100 million. You are going to misuse it. So it's better you build capacity.
All right. The other one is why do BOI ask for 200% network commensurate to request of loan from guarantors?
I'm sure that one can be looked into. I'm not even aware of that. That is 200%. I'm sure 150% for most of the small loans. Then, those are the things that can be negotiated. I don't see a problem with that. If somebody is even willing to guarantee you, serial borrowers. Before, in Nigeria, you had people who are serial borrowers. They can borrow money from Access Bank and then, dump the account and go to GT. But now you have BVN. So even though you are borrowing from different banks, there's a way that we can monitor you. So now when they want to become guarantors to these guys, one of the requirements is that we have to have your BVN number. Now that people know that it is possible for you to buy it, if you default, they are more careful in signing those guarantees.
Okay, Ayokunu, help us. Regulatory bodies, when it comes to enabling business environment to be buoyant and good, but too many regulatory bodies that come after you when you set up your business. How does it add up?
That's truly a challenge, and Pastor Pitan refers to this presentation, burdensome administrative and regulatory framework. So that's a pressing challenge. One approach we've taken to solve it is, first of all, to recognize the regulators, and we know this spreads across the federal, state, and local governments, as the person said. So for the state governments, what we worked on, what we were in 36 states, the State Action for Business and Enabling Reforms, galvanizing 36 states of the Federation to implement reforms across 8 areas. It's still early days, but we're getting World Bank support in that regard. And states will now be required to implement reforms, and as they implement reforms, they get financial incentives. And the feedback from the state, willing, because now there's money on the table. Before, we've been asking them, do this, but there was no incentive. Now there is some sort of incentive. We believe that in the coming months, some of the impact of this SEBA would come out. That's the State Action for Business and Enabling Reforms. I also would like to encourage us to please find a way to lodge some of these complaints. We have a platform we call reportgov.ng, where you can please, if you have, we operate from prestataries, I should say with federal, because that's where we operate from. Please give us this feedback. I don't register businesses on a daily basis, so sometimes I may not know what you experience, but when you let us know, we will do something about it. That's the government. And as we speak more about it, when people know that people can report and that it can be sanctioned, would see that over time things will improve.
Okay, Pastor Abraham.
Maybe just, okay, thank you very much. Maybe just to say something to our brother before. Example, like Lagos, you have a lot of homodealers on the road. How do you create that enabling environment for startups? Maybe it's something, and I don't know if it's within your purview to look at it also, because Lagosians, if you ask here, new startups, they would complain a lot, starting from a bus driver. At every bus stop, he has to pay something to these guys who you're not even sure remit to the government, right? And if you don't pay it, you cannot go. If you want to buy a land, there's a percentage that you must pay to these guys. Whatever you're doing, even if you are hawking on the road, they stop you to pay. So maybe it's something, if it's within your purview and not Lagos State, you can look into that. But I think my question is the accessing digital tools, to please, if I can have it again on the screen. Please, can you put it on the screen for me?
Yeah. What are the closest and most effective digital tool to accessing and exploiting
person who
and potential market for SMEs?
Okay, fantastic. I wish this person who sent the question was in the initial session where tech was discussed extensively. Really, other panelists would have really given value to this question. But I mean, the truth is, look at the kind of business you're doing. Where is your market, first of all? And the customers that you want to attract. Anytime I do this for the oldies, always complain, they have not left Facebook yet because that is for the oldies, right? And then you have the Gen Z who are on TikTok, like Pastor Peter said, and they are thinking of going into that. So you need to look at the peculiarity of your customers and your audience, who you seek to attract, and then exploit that particular platform, or what platform exactly gives and opens up your products to the market. So that's what. Look at the age.
Okay. Thank you. I guess one of the things I would encourage everyone to do is go to the YouTube channel. You'll find all the videos of all the sessions yesterday and today. You'll find all the videos there. Michelle Agata said send the link to me, and I think it should be shared now on the screen so that people know where to find it, the name they should check on the YouTube channel, and you find very, very good resources there. Two more questions very quickly. This gentleman, Monday, says, I have bioconcrete that can do all that cement does and can be used to recycle demolished sites, waste wood, and so on. It can create 8 million jobs. Can you fund it? That's from one person. And then following that is it possible for BOI to give loans at lower rates to encourage SMEs? You already do single digits, so what lower rate is still possible for SMEs, if there is any? And then the last one I would ask you is, why can't BOI give guarantors requirements, guarantors offended, and may once just the back and forth, which makes some guarantors offended and may want to decline their guarantorship? So I guess this person probably has had a situation where they tell him, take this to your guarantor, sign, and then, actually you need to take this as well, and then you need to take that. Is it possible to just have a clear list and procedure is everything in one go? Those three questions. After Pastor Pitan, I will take one or two comments or questions from the floor before we do the final roundup. So I'll need a microphone somewhere, and then I'll need an indication of those who are interested in asking questions or comments. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. The first question of the person that wants to create 8 million jobs, of course we are interested, One of the things
so
we do...
Monday, yeah.
You can come and see us. When he says, can you fund it? It's very interesting, the shareholders' funds of BOI, it's over 400 billion. Technically, if you have a good business, a very good business, and we are in love with it, I'm sure we can. And there are people that we have given to 100 billion. So I'm not sure what he wants to do is up to that kind of money. And there are people that we have given up to 50 billion, but not people. I'm talking of major companies. So that gives an idea of what BOI can do. The second question had to do with whether BOI can reduce the interest rate. I don't know. Like you were already answering the question for me. If inflation in Nigeria is approaching 21%, and we are giving you money at 8%, so where would the money come from, to lend you money at less than that? In fact, people should be asking us to say, BOI, even the money that we are giving out at 8%, where do you get it from? I'm sure people who are financial experts here, we know that most of the, recently you must have been seeing BOI, we've been raising money overseas. Raising money overseas now, there is a rating for Nigeria. Getting money overseas is, for today in Nigeria, it's over 10%. So if you are lending money at less than 10% or something like that, the answer to that question is that it's unlikely we'll be able to lend money at less than 9%. It's very, very tough. Even at 9%, 10%, if you are a financial person, BOI is actually giving you money. If inflation is 20% and we are giving money at 10%, technically we are losing 10%. because we are getting money below the rate of inflation. We are not paying the commercial cost of that money. And then the last question had to do with the guarantor, saying that, if that happens to a particular guarantor, I have to apologize. There should be a checklist of all the things that are required. This person should please complain on our website so we can look at it. If you went through that, I actually do apologize.
Okay, just before I let you go, another one just came in like a second ago. Why BOI asked for insurance fee before disbursement of loan? This person is worried that he's not collected the loan and you're asking for insurance fees.
Like I said, this also is we need to get more details. It might be the upfront fees that he's supposed to pay, or maybe they ask him to perfect documentation before drawdown. Because if you are using something as security, and that particular asset is not insured, it will be foolish of the bank to take it, give you money. In fact, most Nigerians don't like to insure. Most times you force them to insure. So I'm sure it is because of the bank is trying to make that person perfect documentation before drawdown.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll start with you. We have to round up now in one sentence. I've just been told, I'm sorry that our time are already seated because the panelists for the next session are already seated. I can see my dear darling sister up there with a few other people, and they're going to be involved very soon. So we have to wrap up now. Very quickly, your final word in just about 30 seconds. What do people need to know that the government is doing that would help again and again and again? Maybe you should reiterate that.
Well, I think we need to, first of all, as citizens, be interested in socio-political environment of business. We need to sometimes go for it. It will be difficult for me to rehash everything here, but it will be good for us to go for it. And I'd like to, as a final note, just encourage as many young people. I can identify with you. I can call myself a young person. I used to be in the private sector, but it was my own response to some of the present challenges that I saw on the other side. So please, I want to encourage you not to give up on the country. And if you can get involved in some way, please get involved so that the more bright people we have in that space, the likely the outcomes will be more favorable to us. Thank you.
Okay, I think there's somebody who here and said, would have loved to ask a question from the floor, sent something here and said, I was hoping that SME, with this SME topic, Smedan, NAFDAC, and Son should have been invited to speak. So that's for Pastor and the organizing committee for the future. So you look at that. Yes. The final word.
All right, thank you. As a pastor, I'll make reference to the Bible. I think in Matthew chapter 25, you see the parable of the talents. And it means that in each and every one of us, God has deposited something in you that God expects a profit to come out of. And even Jesus Christ himself did things rightly. Right, ensured he paid his tax when he was asked, ensured he went first of all to the temple, so he did things the right way. So from the inception of you trying to put in your ideas into work, ensure that you do it within the ambit of the law, ensure that you do it the right way, avoid bribes, like I was mentioning to Kayode when we were coming in there, that don't put yourself in the position where you begin to offer. When a job is supposed to, for instance, take 5 days, and you come here trying to force the hands of the agency or regulators to do it for you within 2 days, then you have no option. So you put them in the position where they begin to ask you for something. So avoid some of those things that would put you in that position. And I believe that God will bless the works of our hands. Amen.
Okay, Pastor Peter, your final word, but while you're saying it, in my head I was thinking, okay, if I want to set up a small pond and have catfish, or I want to set up a small place where I'm planting tomato, or I want to do hair, or want to set up a barber shop, whatever small business I want, what will be the timeline for me to come to you and say, I need 1 or 2 million naira just to be able to do this, what timeline would I be looking at? How quickly can I get some money to start? And what should I expect I'll go through? But your final word, not too long. Thank you, sir.
Okay. 2 quick words. One, there are many challenges in Nigeria today. But flip that over. Challenges also create opportunities. So look beyond the challenges and go for the opportunities. That's one. 2, you have to realize that all that we have discussed here today are the physical aspects of doing business. Business is actually warfare. It's also spiritual. So if you are going to be successful in business, you also have to be a prayer warrior, because there are some things that happen in business that you cannot explain physically. That is topic for another day. But you need to understand that business is warfare. And then finally, before I answer your question, I believe in a new Nigeria. People are looking at so many things that are very discouraging, which is why our young ones are going overseas. And I say, well, you can't stop them. I look at the young Nigerians who have a good match. Nigerian footballers who are playing overseas. When you have a good match, and you have these good players in all over these various countries who have been well trained, you can invite them. When things change in Nigeria in the future, these are going to be assets for us. But temporarily, we're going to feel it. You're going to go to the hospital, you won't find a doctor. And you fly to London, and the specialist that is going to see you will be a Nigerian, who left here because he was not happy. But that phase is going to pass. And then you were asking, how quickly can you get money? And the answer is, how quickly can you get your documents together? How quickly have you put the things together and you've done your homework? And every business has what I call key success factors. If you don't understand those key success factors and you go into that business, you're going to lose a lot of money. I will close with this story. Some people are into tick business. They get forest reserve, you cut this stick, you export them, or sometimes they just have local timber that they take to the store in that business, and they cut and they make money. But usually, most people in that business lose money because you have to employ these illiterate drivers who are going to go into the forest, to cut these things down. Usually, they will go for about a week and come back and see that they didn't cut anything, or that the vehicle got stuck, or somebody stole the tire or something like that. So the owners were losing money. But there's a gentleman who was making money. So one of his friends went to him and said, look, all of us are losing money. How come you're the only person making money in this business? Can you talk as friends? He said, no problem. Sit down. Let's have a discussion. So he asked him, where do you get your own drivers from? He said, it's from the same place you get your own. All of us, we just take these drivers. Either somebody fired him, you will recruit him. When you fire him, that person will recruit him. So he said, so when they misbehave, what do you do? The man said, well, I just fire them. This guy was making money and said, don't fire drivers. Say, don't fire your own drivers. How do you do it? So let me tell you the story. This guy goes to the bush. They come back and tell me they didn't make any money. There's trouble. I will sit down and listen. After they had finished talking, I will enter my workshop, take out my jack, and knock the jack on his head. Blood will be coming out. As blood is coming out, physically, I will wrestle him to the ground because the guy is big and huge himself. So the drivers call him a thug. When your drivers call the boss a thug, no type of person that the guy was. So he asked his friend, can you do this? He said, no. He said, they know me in this business.
Okay. Well, in some business, I think the lesson of it, that there are certain areas that you just can't function in. If you know that you can't do what is required, then don't go there. Don't go there. Because I think a similar story was what I was asking Pastor Abraham, that as a lawyer, would you, for any reason whatsoever, defend a criminal who tells you that I'm a criminal, I killed, I raped, I did this, but you have to defend me? Would you as a lawyer defend, and you're a Christian? You probably will say no. And that is where we have to wrap it up. And thank you very much to Pastor Kayode Pitan, Pastor Peter Abraham, Ayakunu Ojeni. My name is Kayode Akintemi. I run TFCC on LinkedIn, consulting company for media. You can always join me on LinkedIn as Kayode Akintemi and other social media platforms. Thank you, and it's a pleasure being here. And a massive thanks to Pastor Ben Akabweze for doing me these honors and bringing me here. Thank you very much, Pastor.